It's science time with Hoover and Sparrow.
Winter on the ice. The cold winter was coming. It was time for the emperor penguins to go ashore. There were hundreds of them. Gwen leapt out of the sea with all the others. The penguins plodded across the ice and snow in a long line. Sometimes they lay down and slid on their fronts. A week later, they reached the place where the mother penguins always laid their eggs. Gwen bowed to Pen, and she bowed back. She would be his mate. Gwen and Pen kept calling to each other. Soon, Gwen knew the sound of Pen's voice, and she knew his even when the other penguins were being very noisy. When Pen laid her egg, Gwen stood beside her. He knew that he had to keep the egg off the freezing ice. He pulled it quickly toward him with his beak. He rolled it onto his strong feet before it had time to get cold and tucked it under his feathers. Gwen would have to keep the egg warm until it hatched. After she had laid her egg, Pen was very hungry. She needed to hunt for food in the sea. She joined a line of mother penguins as they plodded off into the dark. The sea was far away, and they would not be able to come back for months. Gwen was left behind with the father penguins on the freezing ice. The winter night grew darker and colder, and the wind started to blow hard. The father penguins were huddling together to keep warm. Gwen needed to join them. He had to shuffle along with his egg balanced on his feet. At first, Gwen was in the freezing wind on the outside of the group, but he kept taking little steps until at last he reached the inside. It was warmer there. All through the long, dark winter, the father penguins took care of their eggs. Whenever the wind was strong, they huddled together. At last, the sun came up again. Slowly, the days grew longer. Then, one morning, Gwen felt the egg wobble. His chick was trying to make a hole in the shell. It pushed its way through the shell bit by bit. When the chick hatched, Gwen tucked it carefully under his feathers to keep it warm. Gwen had eaten nothing at all for 3 long months. Now he was nearly starving, and his chick was getting hungry too. But how could he go down to the sea to find food? If he left the chick alone on the ice, it would die. Then Gwen heard some loud calls. The mother penguins were back. One voice belonged to Pen, and he called out to her. Pen heard his cry and hurried toward him. She had arrived just in time. Pen fed their chick and pulled it onto her own feet. It was her turn to take care of it. Now Gwen, the brave emperor penguin, could go down to the sea and find food. His long winter on the ice was over.
Hi, little snowflakes. It's really cold out, and we learned about winter on the ice and just how cold it is where penguins live.
Yep. And even though penguins might not live in what our challenge is going to be today, we thought it'd be fun if you would like to build a habitat or a house to live in that might be kind of warm.
And sometimes, you might have heard this word before, it's called an igloo. So we would like to challenge you to build an igloo today.
So something you might want to use is some sugar cubes. So you could get some of these, and they're just little cubes right here. And you could use those to build your igloo with.
And we're not using any adhesive materials. So that's what makes this a little difficult, is that you have to make that rounded top of the igloo, but you can only use sugar cubes.
Yep, so no glue or nothing else to stick it together with. Right? And if you don't have sugar cubes, you can use other building materials like craft sticks or cups or something like that if you don't have these.
We would love to see your igloos. So if you're in my class, you can go to Class Dojo and use your home login and snap a picture and send that to me.
And my class can use class tag. And again, if you're not in our classes, you can upload that picture to the comment section of this video.
Look forward to your pictures.
Thanks.